But some days, you know, you might have to leave a 8, 10, 15-second pause in there just to get a fish to bite it. But, you know, like I said, you're going to feel that out throughout the day. Pay attention to when you're getting bit, how long it is on your pauses. We'll throw it out there. Like I said, wind her down a little bit. Give her a nice little double twitch. And then, you know, I'll let that bait sit there for a while. It's a really key trigger when them fish are, you know, in that super neutral mood. They're not wanting to move. They're coming up. They're staring at the bait. And that suspending factor of the jerk bait really allows that bait to just hover right in their face. And at some point in time, it's going to, that length of pause will drive them nuts to where they're going to eat it. And that's what's really key about using a suspending jerk bait this time of year. I can allow that bait to just sit there and hover right in those fish's face. And like I said, you're going to have to feel it out throughout the day. Every day is different, but you know, count your seconds out when you let it pause. You know, let that thing sit there 5 seconds. I didn't get a bite. Okay, now I'm going to let it sit there. You know, maybe counter out to like 8 seconds. Didn't get a bite. But when you do get a bite, remember how long it took to pause. If they're eating it when you're jerking it and not even, you know, pausing it, I want to be able to fish it as fast as I possibly can and still get bites. So, you know, like I said, if the fish are a little active, it's later in the afternoon, that water's warmed up a little bit, I'll wind that bait down there. And if I can get bit fishing this fast, I'm going to do it. I can cover more water, be more efficient, get more fish in the boat. But real soft double twitches. But if they're eating it pretty good and I'm not having to pause it, I'll still work that bait, you know, fairly quick. I'm still not moving that bait a long ways even though I'm twitching it. They're real soft twitches on slack line. That bait's doing a lot more side to side than it is going forward. But, you know, I cover a lot more water when I'm fishing at a pace like this. And then, you know, if you're not getting any bites like that, you're just going to have to start slowing it down and give longer pauses in there until you start getting bites. And then usually whenever you can figure out how long the pause was, say, you know, you get bit on a 5-second pause, you know, that's all the longer I'm going to let that bait sit, you know, the rest of the day unless I really start not catching any fish anymore. If it gets worse, I'll, you know, start making longer pauses. But like I said, on a jerkbait, you don't need the world's most sensitive rod. Typically, if I'm letting it sit there, one or two things is going to happen, and usually that line's going to get tight, because if the only way I'm going to get slack in that line is if he eats it and comes towards me. So if you're letting it sit there and all of a sudden you got a bunch of slack in your line, one ate it, he's running towards you, you just reel down, lean into him, you got him. That's key to having them light hooks. But I mean, if you go side to side or away with it, you're going to feel him when he grabs it. That line will just get tight and you can lean back, boom, you got him. And the other way, most of the time when I get a bite on a jerkbait, I'll just go to jerk it like that. You know, we'll give it a couple jerks, let it sit, and I'll go to jerk it, and that rod will just double over, and I got him. He's hooked up, good to go. Even though I'm using light line, like I said, typically 10-pound test, I keep my drag fairly tight. I don't want it to really slip on the hook set. And anytime that fish is making runs, I'm basically doing all that on the thumb bar of the reel. I'm basically being my own drag, you know. Like I said, this rod is very soft. I can put a lot of pressure on that fish without pulling the hooks. But if I get them up by the boat and they take a run, I just hit that thumb bar and feed them line, click back over, and when they start coming at me, I'm doing all the drag on my own with the thumb bar, letting that slide through there. So keeping the drag pretty tight, but that rod's critical. Super soft rod you want, keep those fish from pulling them treble hooks out. And now when going to land one, depends on the situation. If he's a small fish, like 2-pounder or less, and he's got the bait hooked really good, I can see it, he's got multiple hooks in him, I'll go ahead and flop him. You know, 10-pound test is fairly strong. Now if I get one that's barely hooked, he's just got one little hook on the edge of his mouth, I prefer to get down and belly grab them, land them the best. It's probably the best way to grab them. I don't like putting a lot of force trying to boat flop one when they're not hooked really well. If he's got multiple hooks in him and he's not super big, you know, like I said, 2-3 pounds or less, I'll go ahead and boat flop him. But if he's a bigger fish or not hooked well, I usually work him around to the side of the boat, get down there and belly grab him and pull him in. Jerkbaits work multiple places. They're not great in heavy cover, but typically this time of year you're fishing suspended fish or semi-suspended fish, and they're more structure related than cover related. So points are a good option. Like I said, channel swing banks are like my absolute favorite to fish, but vertical structures are really good too. Bridge pilings, you know, seawalls, faces of dams, floating docks are another great structure to catch fish off of this time of year.